Hey guys, this is Karan back with another video. Today I'm going to talk to you about a beautiful watch from Nomos Glashutte. But before I proceed, I must give a huge shout out to all my friends, members and fellow administrators on Watch Enthusiasts India, which is India's fastest growing private social media platform for watch collectors, and Divers Watches Facebook group, which is Facebook's largest group for fans of Divers watches. You can find the links to these groups in the description box below. You can also follow me on Instagram to follow my daily watch journey. You can subscribe to my channel. You can drop a comment because your encouragement means a lot to me. In the short time with this watch, I've learned to appreciate Nomos as a brand and their watches in two respects, the aesthetic and the technical. So to cover the technical prowess of Nomos and understand that why Nomos is not just a maker of pretty watches and that why they should get a lot of respect from watch collectors, today I'm going to talk to you about the Nomos Glashutte Neomatik Tangente Sport Date 42. That's quite a mouthful, but I'm going to break these terms down and make you understand why Nomos is an amazing brand. An independent watchmaking brand founded in Glashutte in 1990, Nomos firmly believes in the Bauhaus philosophy of design, which in turn is defined by form follows function. Clean lines, contemporary design, basic geometric shapes and harmony, minimal aesthetic bound by color theory, and efficient functionality are the hallmarks of Nomos watches. I have watched the brand grow with some interest over the last few years. Developing a brand new movement, designing its parts, putting it all together, and watching it come to life is a true achievement for any independent watchmaker. By 2013, Nomos was manufacturing all movement parts themselves except for the escapement, for which they were dependent on other Swiss companies. In 2014, Nomos made waves in the horological world by inventing a brand new escapement which they proudly call the swing system. And all Nomos watches equipped with the swing system have the designation Neomatik. The escapement is a small assembly of spring, pallet plate, balance wheel, and jewels and screws that literally drives the tick-tock of a mechanical watch. This component also regulates the accuracy of timekeeping by converting rotational energy into lateral energy in a graduated manner by oscillating or swinging back and forth in a controlled manner. You know what is the most mind-blowing thing about these terrific Nomos movements? The lightness and thinness of them all. Starting with the DUW3001 Neomatik caliber, which is only 3.2 millimeters thick, and all the way up to the latest DUW6101, which is barely 3.6 millimeters thick, despite having a fully functioning date wheel, Nomos now has over 10 Neomatik calibers, all designed, fabricated, and executed in-house. Most of them are basic 3-hand movements, while others have complications like power reserve, date, and even a world time feature. Let us now move on to the aesthetic aspect of Nomos, and to understand that better and the terms Tangent, Date, Sport, 42, let us proceed to unbox the watch. Nomos watches come in a flat wooden box with minimal decoration on it. Bauhaus at work here, folks. When I open up the box, I see there is a branded polishing cloth included along with documentation and warranty information. Let's put all of that away and focus on the watch. This is the Nomos Glashutte Neomatik Tangente Sport Date 42. I think that could be a tongue twister at parties. Now, first things first. This watch firmly belongs in the Tangente line. The Tangente line of Nomos watches have been bestsellers for over 25 years, and this is epitomized by a round case with multiple right angles all around. Notice how the lugs jut out straight from the case and how the sides are flat and at perfect right angles. Beautiful polished finish all over gives the watch a luxurious appeal. Turning the watch around, one can see the DUW6101 caliber through the sapphire crystal. The engraved rotor, ribbed polish, and blue tempered screws are clearly appreciated. Minimal text on the case back mentions the water resistance rating and the Nomos Tangente. This case back is held down by 6 screws, and to achieve 30 ATM or 1000 feet water resistance with it is noteworthy. Hence the small fish icon, which signifies that this watch can be safely used for diving. Nomos watches may seem dainty and flimsy, understandably. Their thin profiles and minimalist aesthetic certainly projects a certain delicacy. They are, however, fully functional modern watches, and the sport designation in the name means that some Nomos watches, like this one, have a robust water resistance of 300 meters or 1000 feet. Now, I don't know anyone who would take a Nomos watch for diving, but it's good to know that this watch will happily handle the occasional splash. The watch has a domed sapphire crystal on top, which has generously applied anti-reflective coating. I really appreciate this, as this makes the watch face clearly visible at many angles and one can easily read the time without confusion. Plus, that dial needs to be admired without pesky reflections, and the watch excels in that regard. Coming to the most obvious aspect of the watch, the dial. Uniquely Nomos, the large dial is with an eggshell white texture is very pleasing to the eyes. and alternating numerical and stick markers are a hallmark of Nomos. This is Bauhaus at its best: clean, minimal, functional. Under the 12 o'clock marker, we have Nomos, Glashutte, and Neomatik in 3 different fonts and text sizes. There is a small subdial at the 6 o'clock position that has the running seconds hand. Right underneath is the water resistance rating in red, again in a different font. The minute track on the outside of the hour indexes are broken by luminous markers that carry a brownish 4 patina color. The loom is blue, however. Nomos uses luminous hands on their club line of sports watches that are targeted at the younger and active crowd. And this is the first time a model in the Tangente line has luminous material on the hours and minutes hands. That too in a vivid turquoise blue color. Let me show you a loom shot. So there is blue loom all around. The hands glow really bright, whereas the hour markers begin fading a little quickly. Sticking with their global design language, the hands are long, slender, and tell time in a concise manner. Let me tell you something cool about the execution of the date complication on Nomos watches. Remember I told you that this caliber is only 3.6 millimeters thick? When the date wheel is added to a movement, it is usually applied on the top to keep the overall diameter the same. But Nomos added the date wheel around the movement instead of on top of it. This way, the slim profile of the watch is intact with only a marginal increase in diameter. This unique way of implementing the date complication means that the date can be changed in either direction. You simply pull out the crown to the date setting position, and the date can then be changed either forwards or backwards. Now, keeping things in line with their design language, the date windows on Nomos watches are 3 times larger than date windows on most other Swiss and German watches available in the market, independent or otherwise, and the font is aesthetically harmonious with the rest of the layout. Let's talk about the crown while it is unscrewed and operational. The crown has a polished top surface with Nomos logo engraved on it. It has 2 substantial crown guards on either side, and for my big hands and thick fingers, manipulating the crown is a slightly frustrating experience. What makes things difficult is that this is a screw-down crown and multiple twists and turns are required to get it into the winding, date setting, and time setting positions. The winding of the movement, however, is very smooth, as are the rest of the operations. Maybe they could have removed the crown guards to make the crown a little easier to operate, but the longer stem is needed to ensure that there are sufficient gaskets inside to maintain water tightness. Maybe they could have used a slightly larger crown, which they already do on the Club Sport editions, but that would have gone against the Tangente design theme. I'm sure Nomos will be working on more Sport edition watches and considering this kind of user feedback. Their calibers are quite narrow to begin with, which is why the largest watches in the catalog are only 42 millimeters across, just like this one. And that is the catch. That a 42 millimeter Nomos watch is an outlier, an oddity among the homogeneous palette that is Nomos. People scoffed at this watch when it was released and called it a non-starter amongst the vast Nomos catalog of smaller sized watches. The 42 millimeter large case is further aggravated by the long thin lugs, which make the watch wear bigger still. I like how it wears when it is seen from the top-down perspective. Here it is on my 7.5-inch wrist, and while I can thankfully carry it off nicely, it will simply be too large for a lot of people. Just for comparison, I have here another watch that is 42 millimeters across, the Tudor Pelagos. Same size but very different watch, and that is exactly what I want to emphasize. With the diverse bezel and reduced dial estate, the Tudor looks more compact than it actually is. Whereas the Nomos, with its wide dial, very minimal, non-functional bezel, and a domed sapphire crystal, appears larger and more substantial. But the fact is that the watch has a flat profile, quite like a slab, and with the straight lugs, it has not even one curve to make it hug the wrist, and it rises and juts up oddly on the wrist. Call it a trick of the light or an optical illusion, and all my quibbles with how this watch looks on the wrist notwithstanding, this watch wears quite well. But you better have a wrist that is at least 7 inches in circumference to fully enjoy this watch. The topic of wearability brings me to one of the new things Nomos has introduced with this watch, and that is the all-new sport bracelet made up of 145 separate parts. The all-new sport bracelet has removable links, a fold-over clasp, and a quick release system not only on the lug attachment but also on the end that attaches to the clasp. It is very easy to operate, and the watch can thankfully be stored in a flat position at your convenience. The link removal system, however, was a pain in the butt. See these small screws on the links? Now they are exceptionally small, smaller than most of the industry standard screws, and required a special screwdriver and forceps to hold them while removing and adding back in. Even then, it took me over an hour to manipulate just 4 screws to remove 6 links. Once the screws were removed, however, the links slide out smoothly, and with a large number of fine links, one can get their desired perfect fit if one is ready to make the effort. I think it's better to simply ask your dealer to size the bracelet for you. All said and done, the bracelet was very comfortable to wear on a daily basis. The fine links have limited movement and folding space, but the overall cumulative fit was very snug and free of any slippage. As you can see, the visible surface is fully matte in finish, and this gives a stark contrast with the fully polished case. Now, not much worry in day-to-day wear, and in fact, it helps tone down the all-polished, shiny watch to a more wearable and everyday carry timepiece. Now, before closing this session, let me quickly address some of the important questions our group members asked of me. How does the watch wear? That was first. I think it wears just fine. You can look back at my points about the case size and the design to understand my views better. Now, if this watch doesn't appeal to you because of the size, then Nomos has many options available for every wrist. You can go with the classic Tangente at 35 millimeters across, which is, with its distinctive lug design, sits perfectly on wrists even under 6 inches. You could also look at the Club series with their more conventional lug design, and those are also available in a wide range of sizes to suit all types of collectors. Next, have they gone overboard with the colors? Sure, this watch is a distinctive deviation from their classic design mentality, and maybe we have been conditioned to look at Nomos in one particular way, but you should look at this watch as a new product in an entirely new territory that Nomos is entering. Their sport watches don't look that sporty to begin with, and to make it stick in our brains that this watch is worth our consideration, Nomos has used some interesting cues. The small pop of color to the brilliant blue hands, it is honestly just right. I think this is a watch that many collectors will appreciate for the attempt Nomos is making here. Next question was, do too many fonts in the dial distract from the overall watch? Okay, so I count 6 fonts here, right? All wonderfully contained within the Bauhaus theme, but look at the dial and tell me if there is any negative space or any wasted real estate, or if it all doesn't come together wonderfully. Next question was the bracelet absolutely needed on this watch? Well, I'm a bracelet snob and prefer having a bracelet over not having that option. Again, sticking to clean geometric shapes and contiguous design, the bracelet has been crafted nicely, and being a decidedly sports watch, the bracelet goes well overall. While I would have liked a curved end fitted bracelet because, as someone on Facebook put it, one can fly a plane through that humongous gap, I wouldn't put it past Nomos if something to that effect was already in the works. Next question was, what about timekeeping accuracy and performance? Are their movements up to scratch? Okay, so Nomos doesn't claim top of the line performance anywhere. But sometimes it is useful to not focus too much on imperceptible aspects when there is so much more to love and appreciate here. That said, the Nomos website does mention that they achieve better than or at par accuracy as COSC standards under testing conditions. And I did not see any perceivable loss or gain of time in my days with this watch.
And finally, should I buy this watch? Should I buy any other Nomos watch for that matter? I'm going to be very frank with you. Nomos was always out of my comfort zone. It was something that I would admire from afar, but never could quite pinpoint why I didn't have one in my collection. I wasn't sold on Nomos, but over the past few weeks that I've spent with this watch, I've come to appreciate Nomos as a brand for what they are and what they've accomplished. And if I do consider a watch from Nomos for my collection, it might as well be the Tangente Neomatik Sport Date 42, because while it is not a perfect watch, it is one of the best watches Nomos has to offer right now. From being perceived as an outlier brand that makes watches for hipsters to now being a force to reckon with, Nomos brings uniform design language across the catalog. It is their USP. It is a distinctive feature that sets them apart from anything else in the world. Similar innovation from popular Swiss brands would cost 5 times more than a Nomos Neomatik. Look at it this way. Nomos is the breath of fresh air in an otherwise stale industry. A big heartfelt thanks to Ethos Watch Boutiques for sending this watch across for review. They are India's largest luxury watch chain and the sole distributor for Nomos Glashutte watches in India. If you would like to buy a Nomos watch, please get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with the right people. As always, thank you for watching.